It is day 264 for those of you who are counting of the second Trump administration, and the government shutdown is heading into a third week with no sign of progress on a funding bill. The Senate left town until Tuesday, and the House will not be in session all next week. In the meantime, the White House is following through with the president's threat to permanently fire some federal workers. Earlier today, OMB Director Russell Vought, who has become one of the most powerful people in this administration, announced that the layoffs have begun. They're also appealing a judge's ruling that temporarily blocked Trump from sending the National Guard to the city of Chicago. Meanwhile, another one of the president's perceived enemies could soon face charges. MSNBC reports that the acting U.S. attorney in Maryland is moving to seek charges against former National Security Advisor, Trump's former National Security Advisor, John Bolton. A complaint or an indictment could come as early as next week. The Justice Department has already charged New York Attorney General Tish James and former FBI Director Jim Comey after public pressure from Trump himself. The big question now on everyone's mind, who could be next? With that, let's bring in our nightcap. Phil Bump is back, former Washington Post columnist. Mark McKinnon, the best dressed of the night, former advisor to both George W. Bush and John McCain. Journalist Oliver Darcy, he's the co-founder of the must-read newsletter Status. And comedian John Fugelsang, he is the primetime host, my God, of Sirius XM Progress. But here's why I'm tongue-tied. Because his new book is a must read. Separation of Church and Hate. It is out now. All right, Mark, let's start with John Bolton. You know, like people are saying Trump's perceived enemies. They're all assuming it's people from the Biden administration. Oh, no. This mustached man was Trump's, and they're expected next week.
Well, not only Trump's, but Bush's. I worked with him.
Oh, my gosh, I knew that.
No, I know pretty well. And, you know, of anybody I worked with in the administration, he's the most buttoned-up guy I've ever worked with in government, period. And, you know, long time. So if anybody knows about classified documents, it's him. And if there's anybody that knows that Trump's after him, it's him. Right? So the notion that this guy who knows more about foreign policy than anybody in the U.S. government, arguably, and certainly more than Donald Trump, would be hiding or keeping known classified documents is such a stretch. And it's obvious that Trump was going after him. And so I just find it hard to believe that there was anything in his possession that warrants a criminal charge for sure. I mean, there may have been. He had boxes of stuff for so many years. I mean, maybe there was something going back to the Bush administration that. But you know, for him to, it's just a huge stretch for me to think that this guy was withholding classified documents.
So if I'm one of Trump's other targets, right? Let's say I am California Senator Adam Schiff. Am I worried right now?
No. No. These people are not ever going to jail. They're not going to be found guilty of anything.
Why do you think that? We're living in unprecedented times.
Right,
well,
but
because
Donald Trump
have to have a jury, and Trump can't pick
exactly
the jury.
right. Exactly right. I mean, look, I've waited 20 years to see John Bolton get in trouble for lies about Iraq. He's finally getting in trouble for telling the truth about Trump. But Donald Trump doesn't care about actually winning a court case. He knows he won't. He's making money hand over fist on this crypto scam since we have a Congress that doesn't believe in the emoluments clause anymore. And so he can afford.
And an SEC that is no longer even reviewing crypto, which is basically an epicenter of dark money.
Yeah, holler back. So what he's doing is what he always does. He knows he's not going to win. He wants to bankrupt his foes. Yeah. He wants to tie them up in court for years with expensive, costly legal fees that mean nothing to him, and that is his game. Tish James proved to the world that he was a fraud, and she beat him in front of a jury. I'm waiting for him to go after the jury members.
But isn't it more than that? Because look at, he's going after Tish James, right? Her civil case mirrors almost exactly what she went after Trump for.
Yes.
Right? And then you think about John Bolton. What are they going after? Classified documents. Is it really Trump just creating this mirror image? So when you think, how is the public going to respond to this? Trump's quote-unquote team is going to say, they did it to Trump. Trump's just doing it back.
That's exactly what they do every single time.
That's how, Oliver, you will get invited back. When you say that's exactly right, you get to come every week.
Yes. You are right on this one, Stephanie.
Perfect. Good job. Yeah.
Brilliant points you just made.
There you go.
They do this every single time. Anytime Trump is accused of really anything, they throw it back on the other party and say they're doing the same thing too, and they're doing it worse. Trump's innocent, and the Democrats are the ones guilty of this. So if you accuse the president of enriching himself with the office of the federal government or his sons of doing that, they say, well, look at Hunter Biden. You know, if you say anything about misinformation that this administration spreads, they throw it back and they claim that there was COVID misinformation from the liberals. This is what they do every single time. So in this case, they are accusing Biden of having weaponized the government, even though that's not what happened over the last 4 years. But that's exactly what they're doing, and they're throwing it back in their face with the power now of the federal government.
All right, let's talk about the shutdown. We are now in week 3. What's the off-ramp here?
Well, I think one of the striking things about the shutdown is I would like to see a poll of Americans who, whether or not they recognize there's a shutdown going on, right? Like,
Lots of people don't.
Yeah,
Mark
exactly.
would know this
right.
the best,
yeah,
I think.
Yeah, I mean, just like people, I just think are not cognizant of it. This is all very normal seeming. The fact that we went into a shutdown. I mean, it is. You know, shutdowns are unique, and this is a unique shutdown by shutdown standards. But like, we're sort of used to this dance. I was struck by polling from YouGov for The Economist, which found though that 40% of all Americans feel like they will be personally affected by the shutdown, including half of Democrats, but only a quarter of Republicans. And I think that tells a lot of the story that Americans don't expect to feel.
I think what's amazing is the point that you just made, which is that for most Americans, it's just business as usual. Oh, another government shutdown. You know?
But isn't that, yes, but it's business as usual. Oh, another government shutdown, because they've already lost faith in Congress.
Yes.
Because that's how we
It's
end
not that
up
they
here.
like it. It's just that they're not surprised by it. But I will say, and I've thought this from the very beginning, that, you know, all this, like, who's got the best talking points today or tomorrow, and this message war, that at the end of the day, people are going to say the obvious, which is Republicans are in charge of the White House, the Senate, and the Congress, and they're going to blame the people at the wheel. And polling increasingly is showing that, right?
Well, it seems like John Thune has been waiting for Democrats to fold because they normally do.
Yeah.
Do you think that's going to happen here?
I don't think so. I think they've gotten some backbone on this, and I think they're starting to see the data, they're starting to see the polling, they're starting to get some discipline instead of just all running into the mosh pit as usual.
Well, let's thank woke truth teller Marjorie Taylor Greene as well, because, I mean, what she did was out of craven self-interest. She doesn't care about the 20 million low-income and disabled Americans who are going to lose in coverage when they're thrown off of Medicaid. She knows that it's going to hurt her constituents, and that's going to hurt her job. So out of pure self-interest, she called out how stupid and disruptive and destructive to their own party.
I think she's the canary in the coal mine on this.
But you'll see. I think we'll see more
Republicans.
of them. More of them are going to be going away.
Let's think about and talk about the way the media is covering all of this.
Yeah.
How's Fox News talking about it? Or even more, how's the far right?
I think what's interesting about this shutdown, and as we get more used to these shutdowns, is that there is somewhat of a celebration on the right. Like, they're kind of all for the shutdown. I mean, if you look at the tweet posted today about the impending slashing of the government, there are celebration memes posted in response to that by right-wing influencers. They want to see the government shut down. They want to see people fired from their jobs.
Okay, but those are right-wing influencers. You know what they've never had to do? Run for office.
Right.
And this goes back to what Mark was saying a moment ago, that that Marjorie Taylor Greene is the canary in the coal mine. She knows whether it's craven self-interest or not, she needs to run again.
Yeah.
Laura Loomer hasn't run on a treadmill. She doesn't know. I don't mean it. I guess that was sassy, but I mean, she has no idea. Sorry. None of these people have any idea what it means to represent the American people who are simply looking for health care, for a good education, for a good job. So when you say the far right's happy, is it far right lawmakers or is it the far right media sphere?
I think it's both. I mean, I think they kind of fuse together. I think there are a lot of people that are feeding into this. And I also think, too, Stephanie, you saw, I think, particularly during COVID, where people were being completely misinformed about vaccines and still getting the virus and saying they wouldn't have got the vaccines because, for whatever reason, whatever conspiracy theory they had been fed. Even though it's against their self-interest, I'm not convinced that a lot of people are not still celebrating this. I mean, I think I think if you look at Breitbart 2 and you look at the Gateway Pundit and all these far-right websites or Benny Johnson's podcast,
I think that
there's a totally different.
He's
But is
firing
that the
people.
case, or is
They
that the
speak to-
fringe?
well, they
because
speak
even
to-
when you think
No,
about
it's the
people,
case.
but even when you think about people that speak out against vaccines, That's the minority. And the majority of people who go out and get a vaccine every day, we don't write a tweet about it. We just do
But
it.
who are Republican politicians listening to? They're listening to their
good point.
base,
Yeah.
and their base is listening to those influencers.
Exactly right.
They're all beholden to Donald Trump broadly, but to this universe secondarily.
Well,
that
this
says
is all
these
just
things.
part of the long narrative that's going on in Republican politics for a long time, which is government's bad, government's evil. We don't need it. Shut it down.
But when John
Except
Boehner
they're in
was
charge
Speaker,
of all of it.
Well, they are in charge of it, and so they're doing what they want to do, which is to just shut it down, shut down government because it's bad. But what's going to happen is very soon, and you look at the data on the states where Medicaid is going to impact and who it's impacting, and it's all red states. Just wait till that happens, and their
But that's
constituents
why
feel the pain.
Do these Republican lawmakers think Medicare and Medicaid are Democratic policies?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they were. It's FDR care and LBJ care.
But now it's 2025 and millions of Americans are dependent on them. Sorry, I cut you off.
No. I was just going to say that when John Boehner was Speaker and there was a shutdown, the reaction and the coverage in right-wing media was totally different than it is today. It has been so far radicalized. It's so extreme now that, I think that's what makes these shutdowns actually more difficult to solve. It's not like there's a pain point on the right at this point. It doesn't feel like it to me. It feels like they are celebrating and saying this is the Schumer shutdown.
Well, I don't know. Troops might be a pain point.
Well, yeah, but also, at the end of the day, this is not a shutdown. It's an engineered hostage crisis. They had the leaked memo saying that federal workers are not necessarily entitled to back pay when this is done. They're already trying to find a way, because they have to give tax breaks to billionaires who don't need them, to find ways to not pay the federal workers who are still showing up every day when this whole thing is over. Why working people still fall for this party that worships golden toilets but hates the people that clean them?
Can we just stay on that? Because
toilets,
because as we're watching this shutdown, right, they've kind of moved away from this talking point, but for the first 2 weeks, it was Democrats want to give free health care to undocumented immigrants, right? This idea that an undocumented immigrant is stealing health care in an emergency room. I can't get my broken arm treated because an illegal immigrant is there to get a flu shot. That has people fired up. But billionaires who are not paying their fair share in taxes, who are not just leaving states where they don't want to pay taxes, they're leaving the country so they don't have to pay taxes.
Yeah,
that seems to be a non-issue.
Yeah, well, again, going back to the point we were discussing before, the Republican base, the people who listen to the conversation in the Republican sphere are not cognizant of that argument, right? This is not what's covered on Fox News, right? And I think
But they will be when it hits them.
Well, potentially, but we've seen, to Oliver's point, so many times when things have hit them that have been downstream from Donald Trump, where they've been like, I don't know what's causing this, but I love Donald Trump, right? It's just an effect. I think the key difference in this shutdown is that both sides are willing to have there be a shutdown, and that the Democratic Party has a base that's like, yeah, to hell with them, especially given the fact that the government has already said, oh, well, if we pass this thing, we're going to use rescissions anyway and cut the spending, right? There are all these factors that make this different, but I think the Republican side is still, to Mark's point, anti-government to the extent that it's just like, yeah, to hell with them, they don't need to work